All right, Nick, let's talk about the Detroit Lions. I think they have some pretty good news in the quarterback department coming up, and we have a story to talk about that here in just a moment. But Lions fans, the season is over, and I will have to say, overall, everything considered, it was a pretty good season. It was a rebuilding year, but you were like inches away from the playoffs, and I think that's pretty good growth coming into the second year of a 3-year plan per coach Dan Campbell. So it was a great season, but I want to know, what was your favorite moment from the season? If we look back on the annals of this past Lions season, let us know in the comments below. What was your favorite moment? But Nick, what do you got for the Lions fans?
Yeah, you kind of alluded to it. There is no position more important in football, obviously, than quarterback. The Detroit Lions turning their season around, finishing with a winning record of 9-8. A lot of credit does go to Jared Goff at the quarterback position. And look, I've been one of the harder critics on Jared Goff. You can find videos of me talking months ago on this show saying, hey, they need to go draft, free agency, trade, whatever, move off Goff. He has proven me 100% wrong. And it seems he's made winners and champions out of the entire management of the Detroit Lions. So this was GM Brad Holmes, according to ESPN, after the game against the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to quote Holmes here. He says, quote, I think it's a lot easier to get worse at quarterback than to get better in this league. So I think what Jared has done this year, he captained the ship of a top 3 offense, and he was top 10 statistically in most of the passing categories. And Holmes kind of hedged his bets a little bit here when he said, and again, you know how we approach a draft. We're never going to turn down a good football player. So if there's a football player we love, we're going to make sure every stone is turned. But here's the big thing here, Miles. But I do think that Jared has proven to everybody that he is the starting quarterback for us. All right, Miles. So this is a ringing endorsement from Holmes, and I think Dan Campbell probably feels the same. You never really know how coaches feel about certain players and management teams feel about certain players. Look at the Chiefs are a great example. They had Alex Smith winning a lot of games with Smith, but really they were looking towards a guy like Mahomes to eventually replace him. You're not getting that vibe here from Detroit and GM right now. It looks like there's a lot of belief that Jared Goff is their guy of the future. Looks like they potentially won't be going after a big quarterback in 2023 the way it's looking right now. Miles, give me your thoughts on Goff, the Lions, and everything offseason with this football team right now.
Well, Nick, if you look at this Lions team, if you look at Jared Goff, if you just look at the stats, I mean, like he threw for like 4,400 yards. That's 6th in the NFL at this point in time. 29 touchdowns to only 7 picks. Those are some pretty good stats. I'd like to see maybe a few less turnovers, but I mean, 7 isn't awful. It's not really atrocious or anything like that. I think he played very, very good. And you look at the weapons on this team, DJ Shark, it turned out to be a pretty good pickup. He looked like a good player. Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously some homegrown talent, but he has been incredibly good per PFF, second best receiver grade-wise in the NFL, 90.7 grade. So they just have weapons on this team. And you look, he even lost a weapon this season in TJ Hawkinson, who got traded to the Vikings. And he didn't skip a beat. He just kept going down the stretch. So I think this team lives and breathes with Jared Goff. I think the teammates love him. I think they all, stand by this guy. And I think he has the talent and the ability to get you wherever you want to go, because he has been to a Super Bowl before. We can't forget that. So, I mean, I think this is the guy moving forward.
Yeah, and one thing I'll admit that I overlooked looking back Goff is, the Detroit Lions obviously are an extremely young football team. A lot of names you mentioned, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, second-year guy, DJ Chark's a young player, Jamison Williams, the rookie wide receiver finishing up his first season in the NFL, only played a few games, obviously, young player. Offensive line has a lot of young guys as well. This whole team's kind of a young football team. And one of the things Jared Goff brought to the fold was a level of stability. People talk about veteran leadership and poise and all that kind of things, but Jared Goff actually showed it this year, because this was a team, I thought, honestly, after their 1-6 or 1-7 start, especially after the back-to-back ugly losses to the Patriots and to Dallas, to me, this looked like a team that was about to fall apart. This looked like, okay, the Dan Campbell experiment's not working. But credit Jared Goff and Dan Campbell and the leadership, all of those guys at the top of the organization, for having the veteran stability, the poise to steady the ship. And you saw it when they turned around. They started to believe more. They played better as a team. They made some tweaks around the edges, made some coaching staff changes, some lineup changes here and there, which we've talked about a lot over the course of the year. But I think a lot of credit has to go to Goff. I know his stats are good, but to me, the thing that most impresses me is his poise, his leadership, and his stability. And I think that's what Holmes and Campbell really appreciate it, because they understand, like you alluded to, it's a 3-year plan. They're still going to be young next year, right? They're going to be a year older, but you're still, Aiden Hutchinson is only going to be a second-year player. right? Houston's only going to be a second-year player. Williams is only going to be a second-year player, and so on. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown, third-year player, right? This isn't going to be a team that went from a average age of 23 to an average age of 33 next year. They're still going to be young, and I think that's why they really appreciate Jared Goff, because he brings that veteran presence. And it was big this year, and I think it'll be even bigger next year as they look to take that leap and potentially compete at the top of the division.